Hello everyone, this is a continuation of my Street Rod playthroughs. This is Street Rod 2 from 1990. Still in DOS, still 8-bit, but with a slightly upgraded sound. And also, it's set in 1969 with muscle cars and generally newer cars. Some of the older cars, like the 63 Corvette and the 1951 Ford Victoria, are included though. So it's still a hot rodding game. You have period licenses and period newspapers as before. And as before, you pick a cheap car from the classifieds to start out with. A drawback of this game is that you do have to have a much faster car much earlier in the game, and it can be prohibitively difficult sometimes, especially when it comes to budgets. So here I'm picking the Plymouth Fury, which is the cheapest one and also one of the most hot roddable of the cars you start out with. But as you'll see, it's still very difficult to get a competitive car. Really, you need a Hemi, but if you buy the Hemi, you don't have any money for anything else, including carburetors. So here I'm putting a 4-speed transmission, not a racing 4-speed, but just a 4-speed. And I'm going to use a 318 engine. And of course, you also can buy differentials, as you can see there. So I'm upgrading the differential because the one it comes with is just not raceable at all. So there I'm changing the transmission. If at all possible, you have to sell the older parts that you pull out of the car because money is so tight in this version of the game, at least early on. So sell the old differential and sell the old transmission immediately. And I'm still not really doing that well, money-wise. So here we have the 6-cylinder, which I'm going to pull and sell before I even buy the 318 V8, because I don't have a better option. So sell the 6-cylinder there. They say V6, but a lot of these cars didn't have V6s, including this one. The real Plymouth Fury would have had a straight 6. So here I'm going to get a 318 V8. Really not what I want, but the most powerful engine I can afford. Then I attempt to put a dual tunnel ram intake on it. Unfortunately, as you'll see, I run out of money for carburetors then. So I buy my first carburetor, racing 4-barrel, and I can't afford a second one. I suppose in theory I could have bought the standard 4-barrel, but that's, not going to put me in a good situation. So what I end up doing is I end up getting a standard 4-barrel intake instead, and I lose money on having to resell the dual tunnel ram back. In hindsight, maybe I should have gotten 2 cheap 4-barrels instead. But as you're going to see, this arrangement will get me a somewhat serviceable car, but at a frightful cost. So I install the 318. Put the manifold on it. Racing carburetor. Then you tune just like in the original Street Rod. And the car really isn't very fast. It's only got a 104 mile an hour speed limit. It's like speed limit is maybe the word rather than maximum speed, because it's got a 318 V8 in it with a 4-barrel on it, with a 4-speed transmission. So anyway, I strip the bumpers off and I chop the roof. And then I run out of money. So I have to try a different Plymouth Fury and start over. I'm not going to put you through that. I'm just going to skip ahead here. So this purple Fury doesn't have the bumpers or roof chopped off, but It's got two four-barrel racing carbs and a four-barrel manifold, dual four-barrel manifold. And I haven't upgraded the differential. So we'll see how this does. It doesn't actually lose the first race I put it in because I put it up against this big Chrysler Imperial that is really too heavy to win, essentially. So I have to compete a little bit. And notice the exterior graphics are for a Cougar, Mercury Cougar, so not an Imperial. The graphics in this are somewhat inauthentic, to be honest. And once you get into race mode. Again, the dashboards are also generic. So here I win, as I hoped to. So then I'm up to $100, so I'm not in such a bad position. Then I go against this GTO, and I should be able to beat it, even though it's a GTO, because it's got a two-barrel carburetor, which a real one wouldn't have, so quite weak. But then the GTO starts to beat me anyway. Again, exterior graphics are for a Cougar. Don't know what's up with that. And I make it a little bit. I don't know why. For some reason, I have a slight advantage for a while there, and then she blows me away. And I lose my $50 and back to 50. And this is a lot like most games in this. This is a much more difficult version of Street Rod, which is the primary criticism of it. The gameplay has also been criticized, but that bothers me a little bit less. Thanks for watching.